Thank you very much. Probably a disclaimer first, I'm not speaking for my wife. And also, if I can apologise for Robert's non-attendance. We found him more interesting than me, but you know, if you just want to get up and have some food, that's fine. First, I'd like to do a reality check, partly actually in response to what Mike has just said, because I do think that as an industry, we sometimes forget why it is that large swathes of the population, both here and in Europe, we've just done a research study right across Europe, actually don't like us at all. And the reason for that is the damage that the financial services industry has done to people. And in the UK, it runs into tens of billions of pounds. In Germany, it's been estimated that just one product causes damage of 20 billion euros a year. And so it's not just us. It's quite astonishing. And some of these numbers are as big as the bailouts for the banks, and yet it's just creeping into people's individual lives as we go on. So the first message in terms of getting people to save is to the industry: stop ripping the customer off. And I'll come on to value and charges in a minute, but I mean, some of the things that have gone on in the UK, I think are just unconscionable. And you still hear executives talking about their business plans with no thought for what happens to the underlying customers. What can we do about it? One or two things I'll suggest. First of all, if we could move to simpler products, a form of simplicity with clear outcomes, that would be very helpful. At the moment, what we have in the UK, we've got about 2,000 different funds of one sort or another. I was talking to Aviva the other day about their legacy problems. I think they've got 110 different product systems. And all that means is that the person in the street who might want to go and buy something really can't see what the outcome is going to be, with one or two exceptions. And what I would say should go with simplicity is the least complexity possible. It's becoming clear to the regulators, and I think to parts of the industry, that the old line, which is if I design a product which gives you a certain outcome, the fact that it's hugely complex shouldn't worry you. And I think the regulators have seen through that, and that they've seen that complexity is a risk in itself because it hides so many other risks all the way down, and we can talk about that. Difficult to do, put together simplicity and clear outcomes, but I think that's what we ought to be doing, and I'll come back to it in a minute. Secondly, value for money. Do we give value for money? I think we only give value for money where there is standardisation. Unfortunately, the only standardisation is on index funds, most of which are far too volatile for the ordinary person to be investing in. And as an industry, and I'm talking here mainly about the funds industry, it's very odd that we've got two business models. And I have talked to Robert about this. We've got what I call the little business model. So we have a tracker which has an annual management charge of 0.1%. Its TER, total expenditure ratio, is 0.3%. So that's the little, the Tesco's model. And then at the other end of it, we've got the branded Burberry model, where you've got a star fund manager, not necessarily us, it could be Invesco, near Woodford. And there you charge the premium because this is a really, really good thing, it's done you lots of good and so on and so forth. And we try and run those two brands, which is what I think they are, under the same brand. So it's Fidelity, it's Invesco, it's JP Morgan. And I think this is quite confusing. So how could we get good value? One of the things that the industry is beginning to talk about with ministers and civil servants is whether we can introduce one of the things that occurs in the United States under 401k plans, which is that employers are given a safe harbour that they can recommend funds for pensions so long as it meets a certain set default criteria. And the default criteria are the sorts of things I've been talking about: simplicity and certainty of outcome. If we were to move in that direction, and it's only a discussion at the moment, you might find ourselves with a set of default funds, not as extreme as the Nest ones, but not taking on the index risk all the time, And if you got that, and it was a sort of standardised set of guidelines to build these funds, then you might start to have the price competition that we have in the index funds. I don't know whether it will work. We've got to attack as an industry our costs. We have to assume, I think, that with the equity risk premium, the year-on-year maximum outturn is going to be between 6 and 8%. We all got fooled by the 90s when it was 14% compound. We thought that was normal. It was not normal, it was abnormal. Workplace savings, absolutely vital, as Michael has said, and increasing interest from employers ringing us up, having heard that we do workplace ISAs, and saying, can you come and talk to us about it? So I think that is beginning to come along. And there is some good news, picking up again from one of the things that Michael says, and this is a personal view, I can't prove this, but I think that in, shall we say, 5 years' time, if we have a state pension which is not means tested and takes every state pensioner above the poverty line, certainty, as Michael says, by then every person in employment will have been auto-enrolled if they don't already have a workplace pension, so everybody in employment will have a private pension. And if this or some other government can ever find the money to implement the Dillon reforms on long-term care, then you will get to a situation where I know what the state is going to pay me as a pension, I have a private pension, and I'll begin to think about how I invest it, and thirdly, I know what I've got to do in terms of dealing with my long-term care. All of those three at the moment are uncertainties. And like Michael, I think if you give people certainty in their financial life, then I think they will have the confidence to save. Can't prove it. Maybe you've got some studies that can prove it. But I think those are very, very important issues. Finally, just on the nest strategy, I think I'm right in saying that after a few years they start moving you into riskier assets, so they don't leave you in that first strand forever. So I think that's just a political decision, and one that, given what's happened to the markets over the last few years, if I was a politician, I might have taken a similar view. I'll leave it there, Tim.